coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up, it's there.
So with the Graboid life cycle finally complete, it seemed that the Tremors series had nowhere left to go. So the idea of a fourth Tremors movie was one that was going to need a careful approach. So how do you continue a series that's already come to a natural finish? That's easy. You just go back in time. So Tremors 4: The Legend Begins. The film takes place in the town of Rejection, and if anyone didn't immediately figure out that twist, they actually say, I think we should change the name of the town. It's not very difficult to get. So, Rejection is this small mining town that's basically closing down because of this sudden massacre that wiped out all of the miners. I wonder what caused that. Except this Mexican guy called Juan, because in movies, all Mexican people are called Juan. It's like the law. Not so much in real life, mainly in movies. So, with the mine closing down, the residents of Rejection have basically called for the mine's owner, who is one Hiram Gummer, or Bert Grummer's great-great-grandfather. And he's also played by Michael Gross. You can see him on the back here. And at this point, basically every Tremors fan was basically hooting with delight. I mean, a cowboy version of Bert. This'll be great, right? Well, guess what? He's a complete and utter dandy. That's the film's words, not mine. He can't ride a horse or fire a gun, and he's also a complete jerk. Not a likeable jerk, just a jerk. So, Hiram leads this group of surviving miners back to the mine, and where they discover the cause of the murders: baby graboids, which are smaller and faster than the adults, and they launch themselves out of the ground and kill the prey with this sort of head-height tackle, that flies at you like this. So the group heads back to Perfection to report what happened, and the group plans to hire a gunman to kill the dirt dragons, as they've called them. It takes about a month for this guy to turn up, but this guy called Blackhand Kelly arrives and agrees to hunt the creatures, although he doesn't entirely believe in them. He thinks it's just some elaborate hoax, but he's getting paid, so oh well. So Hiram, Juan, and Kelly rind out, but they find something disturbing, because the dirt dragons have shed their skins. So when night falls, they decide to camp out at this nearby muling station, which I think is like an old version of a garage, basically. It's somewhere you can keep your horses overnight. And they reason that the heavy floorboards will stop the dirt dragons from bursting up and getting them. Until a familiar face appears. Or should I say familiar tongue. And this leads to this pretty cool scene where the now adult graboids start pulling the floorboards away, and it leads to this gunfight against the adult graboid. And Hiram's using the tiniest little gun in existence. They manage to scare it off temporarily, and Blackhand Kelly decides to teach Hiram how to use a real gun, which he absolutely sucks at, because Hiram has never used a gun in his life, and he can't be bothered to learn properly. And then the graboid comes back and eats Blackhand Kelly, causing Hiram and Juan to run back to town. So Hiram basically decides to give up and leave Rejection, but the residents are staying behind to fight. And this sets up the big finale where Hiram gets a guilt trip and returns back to town with this huge great bunch of guns, including the almighty punt gun, which is this huge great shotgun. It's like the biggest gun you have ever seen that actually existed as well. That's the best part. And he blows this huge great hole through a graboid. So the townsfolk manage to kill the graboids in these increasingly cool ways, with the final kill going to this steam tractor. And in the end, Hiram decides to stay in Rejection, and the sign gets repainted to say Perfection, because of course it's perfection. Everyone figured that out already. So, on the whole, Tremors 4 is definitely a step up from Tremors 3. The return to the original graboids was surprisingly refreshing, actually, and the cowboy setting is always welcome. The CG is noticeable, definitely, but it's mostly just the sort of earth shaking as the Graboids tunnel. The lack of overground creatures means you don't notice it quite as much as the other films. So this came as a surprise to everyone. A sequel about 10 years after the last movie, and with the original actor, Michael Gross, back himself as Burt Gummer. I'm going to spend the least time on this film because it's new and spoilers are still spoilers, but if I'm going to sum it up in one sentence, it's African Graboids. They're bigger and more dangerous than the originals. Also introduced in this film is Travis here, played by, this barely, completely unrecognisable Jamie Kennedy. The nerdy guy from Scream. I mean, that does not look like I remember him. So what can I just mention, as I'm keeping this short, what can I mention about it? The CGI is actually fantastic. I mean, this is a straight-to-DVD horror sequel, and the CG is good. I can't believe I'm saying that. Overall, it's a decent enough movie. As I said, won't go into it too much because it's still pretty new. Not as good as Tremors 1 or 2, but definitely better than 3. I'd say it's about on par with 4. So, ever since I first saw it, Tremors has been basically my absolute favourite horror franchise. But what is it that sets it apart from any others? Well, the Graboids. I mean, the fact that the monsters aren't, monsters. They're just big, dangerous animals. I mean, they get articles in magazines, they have an endangered species status, there's safaris and poachers, and they're just animals. They're not sort of any spooky outer space or supernatural entity. They're just this prehistoric species that we didn't know about until now, that are very big and dangerous. And I love this. Aside from that, there's a few other good things. First off, with Burt being a complete gun nut, and of course the main character of the series, it means guns are used properly throughout the whole films. They're never pointed at anyone, they're never misused. And this is quite refreshing from a lot of a lot of horror movies that basically have guns all over the damn place, being pointed at everyone and everything. The practical effects throughout the films are all amazing. Whenever you use a puppet, something turns up. It always looks really realistic and really cool looking. And the characters are all likeable as well. That's the amazing thing. There's very rarely a character you want to see get eaten. I mean, there are a few here and there, but they're the characters you're sort of meant to dislike, so that's okay. It's not like one of the protagonists you're hoping is like, just hurry up and get eaten already, I don't like you. That doesn't happen throughout this series. So I'd say, overall, this is a very fun series. I can easily recommend to any horror fan looking for a good time, or any comedy fan, horror comedy fan, I should say. As you can see here, I've got the Attack Pack. This is the first 4 movies. Didn't come with the 5th one, obviously, because this was released earlier. And if you live in Europe, you can't get the TV series off of, say, YouTube, so I just can't do anything about that, sorry. So, I hope you enjoy these movies as much as I do, and I hope you'll come back next time where I'll be reviewing Castlevania, The Chronicles of Sorrow. I don't have the first game to show off, here's the second one. Anyway, I have been Mr. Clockwork Apple. Goodbye.